Can you put your hands and big feet together for Mr. Bobcat Goldthwait? So we'll get into it a little more of the Q&A after the film, but just to get people warmed up, tell us a little bit about why you made this movie, why a Crypto Zoo movie and why a found footage film.
Well, thank you. Well, first of all, I'd like to say hi. Thanks everybody for coming. That's a hell of a turnout on Thursday night. Thank you. I'd like to thank Rube Morg and of course Toronto After Dark and Sasquatch and I know I'm forgetting. Oh, and Honest Ed's. That's why I bought this scarf today. $3.95. When he died, what did they bury him in? How cheap really was he?
Turkey roaster.
Chicken bucket? What? A ball of scarf. So yeah, why did I do a found footage movie? A question I asked myself. I'm not the biggest found footage fan, actually. I often wonder who found this footage. You know, what kind of creep found it and said, hey, I'm sorry your family got raped to death, but if we re-edit it, I really think there's a tremendous picture in it. Sorry for your loss, but she would have wanted it that way. But I tried to stick to what I think works in found footage, and not that you need to count, but there's only 67 edits in the movie. So it's kind of, I tried to stay true to the idea that you're watching the garbage that's in this camera. I made this movie because I've always been fascinated with Bigfoot ever since I was a little kid, and I'm fascinated with the Patterson-Gimlin footage, and that's the footage of Bigfoot. Will you model it for me? Yeah, doing that. If you've seen the footage, one of the things I like is I've spent a lot of time now in the Sasquatch community that it's a woman, Bigfoot, the Bigfoot people will tell you, yeah, because in that footage it has breasts, which I just love the eureka moment for some Bigfooters who are like, holy shit, it's a Bigfoot with tits. This is the greatest day of my life. This is a perfect storm if it only had a beard. So you know, initially when I went to this place, Willow Creek, I thought I was going to make like a Christopher Guest kind of comedy, but when I got there, it just seemed to lend itself to do a scary movie, and hopefully you find it scary. I'd like to say this, I just played it in Germany, and I will like to say that there is comedy in it. The Germans didn't laugh at all at any of the comedy, and then when shit hits the fan, then they were laughing. They're German, you know, and then afterwards they go, we're going to have a party in an old prison tonight. And I was like, I'm not falling for that again. So I'm just letting you know that there is humorous elements in the movie, hopefully for you. And I have to say, I am comfortable being in front of a crowd, but I truly am overwhelmed by how many you are here, and it means a lot to me. And thanks. And I hope you enjoy it, and I'll be back for Q&A, and then I'm sure I'll be over at the Office Pub too. God Bless Canada, the sequel to God Bless America? Okay. Opens. Crack house. A mayor stumbles out. I'll see if I can write it. All right. Thanks.
All right, guys, let's give it up for our feature. Let's give it up for our short. Let's give it up for our guest. And let's give it up for Bigfoot. Enjoy the films. I wanted to say before we get started, I purposely didn't watch this film ahead of time on the festival screener because I really wanted to experience it in the theater with a crowd. And it gave me exactly what I wanted, which was being surrounded by people who were watching the movie like this. And they were covering their eyes, and some of them were gasping, and they were jumping. And that, for me, is a wonderfully, purely cinematic experience. So thank you.
Well, thanks. I watched you guys tonight instead of the movie, and that was kind of fun. It is fun to see people. As a comedian, I'm used to people either laughing or being pissed, but it's fun to watch people covering their faces and stuff. For all those of you who are covering your face, spoiler alert. I'm Bigfoot, all right? But I'm glad you enjoyed it so much. It was really fun to watch it.
Is there like an amazing blooper outtake reel of you trying out other Bigfoot noises or fucking it up or coughing?
No, but we saw 2 mountain lions where we were filming. It's a 17-mile dirt road that takes about 2.5 hours to get to, and while we were filming, oh thanks, I'm super thirsty. So one of the things, just before we filmed the tent scene, we saw a mountain lion, and the irony of me being mauled to death by a bobcat wasn't lost on me as I was creeping towards the tent. You know, I was like, because I didn't tell them what was going to happen while they were in the tent. So if suddenly I was going, ah, you know, they go, ooh, you know, and, I haven't heard that voice since the 80s. So, yeah, that was, it was funny when we filmed the tent scene. We did that, it's 19 minutes long, that take, and you know, when they're in the tent, and when we filmed it, the first time, Bryce, the guy playing Jim, he started crying, and I said, well, your character's, you know, you're not crying, you're a little bit excited when it first starts happening, and he goes, yeah, Jim wasn't crying, Bryce was crying. I go, so he's like, hey man, you know, why are we filming this here right now? We could do this in a parking lot in a hotel, you know, we don't need to be in a tent in the woods. And I was like, well, yeah, we do. It's you know, so it worked being out there. It was scary, I guess. But you know, like 90% of the audio is all live and stuff. So I really like that scene in the tent because you can actually hear the river and you hear all the, you know, how it sounds in the middle of nowhere. You can't kind of cook that, you know.
I know when the filmmakers who made the Blair Witch Project were shooting, it was a really big deal to fuck with their actors, and you were doing some of that here, obviously. Was it a case where you gave them a bunch of direction and said, this is what's going to happen, or were you behind the camera in a lot of those shots?
No, they shoot the majority of the movie, and some of the stuff we'd have to reshoot because Bryce was actually a pretty good operator, and all of a sudden, you know, he'd do zooms and pushes, and we'd have to do it again so it looked more amateur. So it looked, you know, people bring up the Blair Witch Project, and you know, I have to see that movie. No, you know, I don't mind the comparisons. People will say it's derivative, and maybe that's true. But there's a lot about the Blair Witch Project that actually was good. And then it seems like people who make found footage movies now jettison it. You know, the things that did work in that movie. You know, I've called this the Blair Squatch Project. When I showed it to Jimmy Kimmel, he called it Scary and the Hendersons, which I like that.
What were the people of Willow Creek actually like? Were they receptive to what you guys were doing, or were they kind of hucksters, or did they want you to fuck right off? Yeah, well, a lot of those people in the movie are residents. They're real, you know, like Steven at Bigfoot Books is real. Anita, the woman that doesn't believe in Bigfoot that runs the visitor center, it's amazing. They have her, you know,
that's their main livelihood after growing marijuana. I don't know why they wouldn't encourage Bigfoot. You know, I don't believe in it. Nope. I kind of love her, but there are people who are actors who are fake. But most of those people, like the native woman who speaks. Her name is Sean White Guy Sr. That's a real person. I wouldn't write that name. It's too weird, you know. A Native American Indian named White Guy. It's
Senior.
Senior, yeah. Apparently, I don't know if there's a Sean White Guy Jr. or whatever. So yeah, a lot of those folks are real. A lot of those folks are nervous about being filmed because Bob Saget had just come through not long before me, and he was doing kind of a snarky take on Bigfoot, and so they were a little camera shy around another 80s comedian named Bob. I kind of won him over. You know, I don't want to poke fun at these people. That's why I said earlier, you know, initially I thought I'd do like a Christopher Guest kind of movie set in that world, but I really didn't think I wanted to pick on these people because, and as far as like subcultures, there's very little, people don't really go, hey man, they're Bigfoot people, cut them a break, you know? It's like Star Trek enthusiasts, Ren Fair people, then Al-Qaeda, then Bigfoot people, as far as people willing to listen to what they have to say. So that's why I switched it up and tried to do a suspense movie instead.
Those Al-Qaeda conventions are not very popular in the fan community, by the
No,
way.
well, the fanboys, they check their sneakers. I went to the Bigfoot convention, and Corey, who had his Bigfoot costume, he made that himself, and he did a good job because Bigfoot has a flat head in his suit. And in the community, Bigfoot has a flat head. They don't believe he has a pointy head. They think that's Spielberg bullshit from Harry and the Hendersons. Man, that's fake. So I was at a convention and there was a guy who had a pointy-headed cardboard cutout of Bigfoot, and this other guy walks over and he goes, "You disgust me." And he goes, "Why?" He goes, "Look at that head." He goes, "Really? I've seen Bigfoot 3 times and you'll never see him because you smoke." I guess Bigfoot doesn't like tobacco, but he likes grass. They love their weed out there in the Bigfoot community. You know, I was out there recently with the fellas, and one of the things, they put bacon on the fire because Bigfoot likes the smell of bacon, and I'm like, yeah, so don't bears. Bears like bacon too. And it was really fun because I was out with Tom Yamarone, the guy who sings he's the Bob Dylan of the Bigfoot community, and he was with us, and it was a special part of the night where he ran out of Bigfoot-related songs and started performing Jewel.
Who's written a lot of Bigfoot songs.
It was really, yeah. That dude with the shorts and the guitar just singing Jewel. That was probably the thing I couldn't predict the most of all the experiences I've had there. And then he does a really sweet thing, man. We're walking in the woods with no flashlights, and we're really, you know, I can't explain it. There's no planes going over. It's really, really remote, and classic horror, your phone doesn't work, and GPS doesn't work, and so we have no lights, and then he's calling Bigfoot. He keeps going, whoop, whoop, and then he'd go, hmm. So tomorrow morning we're gonna get up early, and what I thought was beautiful was that little, huh. You know, it's, that's weird. He usually picks up. I don't know what's going on. This is Friday, right? Because I told him Friday. All right. So, you know, and he just would do that all night long, you know.
So when you're making this kind of movie, there's a point where you have to have the discussion of, do we show the monster?
Yeah.
Was that something that you grappled with, or was it always your decision that it was going to kind of be theater of the mind?
I was more interested. I didn't, you know, I think of Sasquatch and other things like like when I watch a horror picture and the devil shows up, it makes me laugh, you know. It's like, oh, that does look like the devil, because in your own subconscious you have your own ideas. So I didn't want to do that. And The Legend of Boggy Creek is a movie that really inspired this, and they have a little Bigfoot in there, but not too much. But then there's, and also the movie Grizzly Man, the Werner Herzog movie had a lot to do with this movie, because you know you don't see all the horrible thing, and it's just one guy's drive that ends to be their downfall, without getting too pretentious.
When Timothy Treadwell looks into the eyes of the bear. Yeah, it's one of our favorites around.
I love the Inuit guy who goes, I think the bears didn't kill him because they thought he was like maybe retarded. I know that's a improper word, but I don't know what was worse, me saying retarded or me doing a horrible Indian impression.
Maybe it's time to open it up to you guys. Who's got a question? Put your arm up, I'll pick you out of the crowd. You, sir, right on the end of the row.
How much between the lead actors was improv, if any of it?
The question is, how much among the lead actors was improv?
There was about a 25-page outline, and both those guys, Bryce was in a movie I did called Sleeping Dogs Lie, and he shows up in God Bless America, another movie I did, as the douchey guy that shares a cubicle with my hero. So I have a good relationship with him, and Alexi starred in this movie that I did called World's Greatest Dad with Robin Williams, and so these are people I knew really well. Oh, thanks. That's about as many people who saw it. It's all right. Seriously, I'm so happy that so many are here. You have no idea. So we would, you know, it was an 11-hour drive from LA before we drove down that dirt road for another 2. So we really discussed who these people were, what would happen, how they would do stuff, and then we would do like a loose rehearsal. And so they ad-libbed a lot, and then sometimes I'm feeding them lines, and then we would do a take again and stuff. But it was there was a couple challenges that interested me in making the movie. One, I'm a fan of like Joe Schwamberg and those guys and how they make movies, and I thought, well, I wonder if I could do an improv movie. And then the other is there's so many people that I admire will make scenes where not much is going on and I'm terrified or creeped out or just uncomfortable, like people like, you know, like David Lynch and Tarantino and you know, and I wanted to see if I could do that, you know.
Cool. Let's take another question. Hands up. To my left. Oh, here we go.
Yeah, could you explain the process for casting your talent?
He wants to know about how you casted this film, what it was like.
How I cast is, I have a couch. No, I just creeped out a lot of people. You know, the main people are folks that I've worked with before, but casting, you know, and then there's a lot of folks that were just locals, but there wasn't too much casting. Finding the woman to be nude, that was a casting thing. That was weird, because like in order to make her dirty, I went to a grocery store and bought a bunch of cinnamon and syrup and chocolate and oil, and then when she's standing out there all by herself about 40 feet away from the rest of us, I'm like going, I just made a bear donut is what I did, you know.
Like the bacon wasn't enough, man.
Yeah, this one's that woman smells good. So, and then she walks out of the woods, she goes, well, that's off of my bucket list. And I'm like, man, what is your bucket list? You know, that is crazy.
Well, I've been waiting. I imagine somebody out there is going to ask this anyways, but let's get it out of the way. What was with her in the movie at the end there?
Well, you know, she's the woman at the beginning that they say is too happy to be missing. So there's a belief in the natives people that Sasquatch would actually steal women for concubines. So that's what I have in my mind. But I also know that at that moment, if I cut to Bigfoot, it wouldn't have been as frightening, you know? Somebody said that this movie's everything men scare, afraid of, a male thing, like being shot down when you propose, seeing another dude's penis, and seeing someone that looks like your mom nude. So maybe that's it, you know.
Masterful filmmaking. We got time for a couple more. Let me go. Is anyone up at the very top got a question? Second, I see somebody waving like in the very back row almost. Yeah. No, you just look behind you. Yeah, you.
The guy.
Be loud.
The guy kicking the other guy in the head. No, that was last night's screen.
You with the hoodie on. Do it. Ask us loud.
Bobcat, do you believe in Bigfoot?
Do you believe in Bigfoot?
I'd like to not rule out the idea of Bigfoot, so yeah. I mean, it's weird because people ask me that and I'll say, yeah, I believe in Bigfoot, and then this guy, I heard you were an atheist, and I was like, well, I know people who've seen Bigfoot.
Atheist.
Atheist. I'm an atheist.
Sorry, man. Okay, we got time for one more. Right against the wall over there.
Yeah. I'm really impressed by the internal consistency. There were a couple things that took me out of that, and just because the rest was so consistent, that seemed to make it more. So can you talk about your trying to make it so consistent?
The question's about how do you achieve a consistency of characters or believability?
The filmmaking process, like the cuts and things like that.
Well, I guess like as far as consistency, you just answer yourself like, does this seem right, you know? So there's, you know, tonally people will ask me about the movies, the other movies I make too, which are dark comedies, and you know, I don't really have any rules. It just, the stuff that feels right to me is what I go along with, you know. I don't know.
I think there's a really great question, given what we chatted about in the lobby to end this Q&A. What are you working on next?
Oh, well, I've written a whole bunch of screenplays, but I've been working on getting a musical going. I know. Yeah. Shakes the Clown too. No, still shaking. That would be a prequel where they're like angry teens movie. So that's this thing with Ray Davis of the Kinks that I've been working on called, it's an album from the 70s called Schoolboys in Disgrace, and that keeps going along, and hopefully I'll make that someday. But I just finished a new screenplay, but I've written like a zombie fetus. I know zombies are played out, but these are fetuses that attack an abortion clinic, and it's called Ankle Biters, and that's the one I wrote recently. But there's I want to tell, okay, we'll end with a quick story that makes me laugh, and it's just, you're a nice crowd and everything. I have to tell this story. After we saw the mountain lions, it was scary, and we had a ranger with us. And so I kind of stuck with the ranger, thinking that he was going to protect me if we get attacked by a mountain lion. So at about 3 a.m. around the campfire, he goes, you know, I'm a writer too. And I go, oh, really? What do you write? He goes, well, you know Twilight? And I go, sure, everybody knows Twilight. He goes, well, I write tween novels set in the Bigfoot community that are coming of age stories for teenagers. This is 100% true. I go, oh, what's the name of your novels? He goes, well, the first one's Yeti or Not. And I'm going to be eaten by a mountain lion. You know, Grandpa here is not on that's me, Grandpa. I'm not really, if you enjoyed the movie, just tweet about it. I'm not on Twitter. I'm on Instagram. I'm not on Facebook. There's some guy saying he's me, so don't get pissed if I don't talk to you, because that's not me. It's really weird, but I don't know why I'm digressing. My daughter's like, there's some guy trying to get laid on Facebook saying he's you. I go, I don't know why you'd do that, you know?
When can people own a copy of this film?
It's right now we're actually the Canadian distribution hasn't been set yet, but I'm starting to sell it to different countries, and so it'll probably come out next spring. It will come out as a product, yeah, it'll probably be next spring. I'm hoping for, you know.
Awesome. Well, everybody keep your eye out for it. Tell people that you liked it, you had a great time at the screening. You're now all atheists. Please give Bobcat a big round of applause. Thank you for being here. Thanks so much, man.